So, my driving question for my final project is, what makes good comic book art? So, the first of the questions I'm going to be answering is, how much does layout affect the comic reading experience? And the answer is quite a lot. And quite a lot, because the pacing directly affects the comprehension of the images. And the way, like, if it's like with a font that's hard to read. If a font's super hard to read, you're not gonna want to read the thing that's typed out in the font. It's the same with comics. So if the comic layout is bad, people aren't going to want to read the comic because it's confusing and hard to read, and they don't want to put the brain power in. There are also a few things such as how certain things affect the comic, such as color of the panels, composition, character positioning, eye gaze, elements breaking the borders, such as the way in which panel and other ways that don't even have to do with the art of the panel, just how the panels are arranged. In a page comic, which is like, a standard, it's a comic book. Comics follow a usual Z path. Z path is left, right, and the diagonal down. And it's the opposite for manga, which is right, left, and then diagonal right for them. With strip comics and multiple page comics, it's pretty easy. You just go left to right or right to left, depending on if it's English or Japanese. Or manga. With manga comics, you're just taking you scroll. That's just, you scroll. It's pretty easy to tell which one is which. Do you need to be a good artist to make a comic? Technically, no, but it does matter. In Tapas.io, Tapas, with Tapas. For Tapas, and they actually listed a little survey that they had done in order to basically they did a survey. So basically, it can change for up to 50% is how much your art can actually affect how how like why people might look at your art, or why people will look at your comic. So it's not necessarily required, but it's pretty important. So you should probably know some basics about art and how to do stuff like that. And if you make comic art, you basically any drawing program that you could think of could probably make a comic. I know the original episodes of Homestuck were made, the original few chapters of Homestuck were made in MS Paint. So you can make a comic in anything, but there are a ton of free apps and programs such as I recommend Viropeka, Krita, IBIS Paint, or if you want to shout out a little bit of money, Procreate. Both versions, Procreate Lite and just normal Procreate, they both work wonderfully for that. And how do you keep motivation for longer comics? This can be a pretty tricky question, but you should be, I think, before you start making a comic, you should, the comic idea should be, sticking in your head and you have the motivation on your own without a schedule, without nothing to actually want to work on it. Like, you were consistently creating story ideas, characters, yada yada yada, for maybe about a month. I want to say about a month before you start, fleshing those ideas out. Or even start wanting to make this a comic. And that will help keep your motivation. Also, set a deadline. I found the making of my first comic book episode, the making of my first comic chapter, episode, whatever they want to call it, is super hard. I feel like it's the hardest thing. But you just gotta sit down and you gotta do it. Alright, so thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because I'm planning to do live streams on working on my comic. So yeah, I plan to do that, and I'll link resources, the resources for this video, as well as some tutorials about, how to do art and stuff. Channels that have art tutorials, yada 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 yada. Alright. So, ta-ta!